Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the 4 to 5. Eric Chilton here with Chad Silber and Lauren Coleman with a busy weather day.
Busy weather day all day today. I went outside to go shoot a story and I kept saying, is it going to start raining now? Is it going to start raining now? Because the app shows it's going to rain pretty much the whole week, right?
I mean, pretty much on and off, scattered showers, late day thunderstorms, at least through Sunday. We're hoping that all that will kind of get back to maybe a more normal pattern by the beginning of next week, but even that is a little bit iffy right now. One of the problems, in fact, to me, the main problem, because we will see and have seen thunderstorms with this, but it's really more of a rain issue for us, because notice as you look at the radar how, in fact, focus on like Lexington and Asheboro. You see that one line started to move through, but then it's kind of stalling out, and now all the moisture just continually develops and goes from the south to the north, kind of over the same area, which is right in the central part of our viewing area. So from Asheboro up to Greensboro and up to Danville, we're seeing just repeat performances of the same showers developing and moving. That the rain, when that rain will, and I can't even say end, but when it curbs off a little bit. We're going to talk about that in our long range forecast.
Eric, thanks. The easiest way to know whether there's rain in the forecast is by using the News 2 app. You can customize alerts for your part of town so you aren't caught without an umbrella.
Let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup. Law enforcement and the Triad are dealing with a weekend of gun violence. Since Friday, officers responded to more than 10 shootings in Winston-Salem alone. Early yesterday morning, someone shot and killed a man at the Choice Extended Stay in Greensboro. Police say he was 32 years old. His killer is still on the loose.
There's nothing too serious in this world that you got to kill somebody almost every week. Every day.
Hope Dealers Outreach is an organization working to end violent crime in Winston-Salem. They say gun violence is a community problem that will require work from everyone to solve.
It was a violent weekend across the country, too. CBS News says there were more than a dozen so-called mass shootings where 4 or more people were shot or killed. For example, a Father's Day celebration turned deadly yesterday in Chicago, where 2 people died and 3 others were hurt when someone opened fire at a park. The crime comes as the White House renews calls for tighter laws around guns.
Have to take action, have to move, have to do something.
The CDC says more than 800 children and teenagers have died in gun violence so far this year.
People living in Greensboro could soon find out if they'll have to pay higher property taxes. The City Council is meeting tomorrow to discuss the budget and potentially bring forth a vote. Last week, the city manager proposed a 4-cent property tax to raise wages for city employees. This would increase police officer pay to $57,000 a year and up minimum pay for other city workers to $18 an hour. Take a look at your screen for a breakdown on how the change would impact homeowners. If approved, taxes for a home valued at $200,000 would go up about $100 a year. The increase expects to bring in $60 million of extra revenue for the city. If the city doesn't finalize the budget tomorrow, they'll have to call a special meeting for a later date.
Meantime, homeowners in Greensboro can catch a small break with a tax rebate program, but the deadline is very soon. The city is offering up to $150 back on property taxes for low-income homeowners. Your annual household income can't be higher than $47,000. The deadline to apply is tomorrow.
Juneteenth isn't just about the fight for freedom in U.S. history. It is also about the push for equality happening right now. A viewer recently sent a question about tax disparities in race. They wanted to know if black couples pay a higher penalty on their taxes for getting married than white couples. Our verified team, our national team, looked into the claim.
The question is likely based on headlines coming from this research out of the Tax Policy Institute. So we read the report and talked to one of its authors.
Their conclusion is yes, when a black couple gets married, they're more likely to then pay more in taxes or receive less of a tax benefit than white couples compared to before marriage. Here's why. If two people who make the same amount of money get married, their combined income doubles, potentially jumping them to the next tax bracket.
So they have what we call higher ability to pay.
But if a person marries someone who makes a lot less money, or none at all, that relatively unchanged income is now seen as that of two people.
And that's when you get a bonus from getting married.
That first scenario more typically applies to black couples. The researchers found black couples are more likely to be two people who both work and make more equal pay, whereas white couples are more likely to include one spouse who stays home or makes a lot less money. However, of all the boxes to check on a tax form, race isn't one of them.
Tax policy isn't, and really it shouldn't be, based on race. But what's been missing in the discussion from tax policy side is the discussion of racial equity.
And the researchers say some ideas that could fix this might actually mean taxes are more burdensome on people who make less money, which would present new issues. So right now, they aren't actually suggesting a change. They just say it's important to continue studying real-life factors as part of tax policy moving forward. With your Verify, I'm Abby Larico.
You can help stop the spread of misinformation. If you see a claim or story that needs to be verified, send a selfie video or short paragraph to verify@WFMY.com. We'll be right back.
All right, I am talking about virtual doctor's calls. Two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know. I mean, I have it pretty stable on me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Psychology expert Blanca Cobb is here to help folks get more comfortable with
It shouldn't come as a surprise that telehealth medicine that skyrocketed during the pandemic is likely here to stay, but not everyone is comfortable with virtual appointments.
Psychology expert Blanca Cobb is here to help folks get more comfortable with those virtual visits. Blanca, what is it about telehealth visits that some patients just don't like?
Some people don't like that it is impersonal because you lose that face-to-face component. And also sometimes people want to have that privacy. And if they're in an examination room or doctor's office, it gives them this privacy and they're more comfortable talking about sensitive topics that they may not feel as comfortable talking about at home. Also, there's some people who may not hear or see very well, and it's easier for them when they're face-to-face with somebody than having to deal with the technology.
What kind of advice can you give to help people get more comfortable with these virtual doctor appointments?
Well, the first thing is really the tech side of it. Everything from logging on to where you're going to have the conversation at home, and make sure that you do have enough privacy. So whatever your concerns are about a telehealth visit, make sure that you address those before you actually jump on a call with the doctor, because you're going to be more comfortable. And the more comfortable you are with the technology, the more comfortable you're going to be during the visit.
So what about getting more comfortable on camera? What are some ways they could prepare for that?
One is practicing, and this means jumping on a virtual call with friends or family. But this is the catch, though. You want to go ahead and have this set up as if you were talking to the doctor. I'm not talking about pretending to have your friend be the doctor. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying make sure your setup is here, where you are going to be in your house. Make sure you understand how to log on and play with the controls and the camera position, and making sure that you're looking into the camera. So those particulars. So you just want to practice it as if you're talking to the doctor, but you're not having that medical conversation at all. You're just having fun with your friends or family to get more comfortable.
We all have family members, oftentimes who are older, who might not feel comfortable with that kind of appointment. What can we do as loved ones to convince our loved ones that it really is the best way to go?
Good question.
When you talk about, find out what their concerns are. And you don't want to make any assumptions about that, but find out what their concerns are and address those concerns, and actually do a role play with them. Like, you help them. Hey, I'd like to jump on the call with Cousin Bobby, for example. And then you jump on a call. It's a fun call. It's a less threatening call because it's not actually with the doctor. And then have them play with the volume. Make sure that they can see well, or they're playing with the volume to make sure it's up loud enough, or whatever those concerns are for them. Again, the more, it's an issue of comfort normally. The more comfortable they are, the easier it's going to be for them.
All right, good advice, Blanca. Thank you. You can continue the conversation with her on her Facebook page. Just search Blanca Cobb, body language expert. We'll be right back.
We might as well put the umbrella in the car and just leave it there for the next 4 or 5 days. We have rain chances, and not just, normal in a summertime period, we'll see 30 to 40% late day pop-up showers. That's normal. That's almost every day in the summer. But this is different, where we see a chance of a shower at any time, and those chances are up to 60 to 80% now instead of our normal 30 to 40%. So you can see at the beginning of this time loop, and that was around 1 o'clock this afternoon, it looks like a definite line. We did have thunderstorm watches and warnings going off around the area, but now it's just more of the moisture that keeps developing from the south and moving over and over the same areas, it seems like. Look to our friends to the east. There's Burlington at the top of the screen, over to Mebane, down to Saxball, that entire area along Highway 87, seeing heavier rains that are now moving into the Chapel Hill area. It rained so much over really the heart of Greensboro earlier this afternoon that there's a flash flood warning in effect until 5:45. So areas that are prone to seeing, Latham Park, that neck of the wood, those folks that are used to seeing when we get heavy showers, you have to keep an eye out for that. And I think that's going to be the case almost every day this week as we see wave after wave of these showers developing. Even back to the west, there's Elkin over to Louisville and down to Clemens, and heading down I-77 south of Elkin. They're seeing spotty heavy showers there as well. Now that our temperatures have cooled down, we were in the low 80s earlier today. Thunderstorms probably not as much of an issue as now it's just rain. Notice it's all kind of moving along. And you see the low up here, right? That counterclockwise swirl there. That will just sit over us and just continually, there's really nothing to push it away, which is what we normally would see. Upper level low just meanders around the mid-Atlantic states and just continually dumps rain on us. It won't be all day constant rain, but it will be hit or miss, and most of the time. Flash flood risk, we are in the slight risk. That's out of 1 through 4. We're a 2. And that's for Tuesday, tomorrow. That goes into Wednesday as well, and that's where we were today also. Just a quick note with our 7-day, rain chances up there, 70 to 80% through Friday. Temperatures are way below normal, 72 to 74. That's the range pretty much for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 78. We're hoping by the end of the weekend or the beginning of next week, those may be more of a typical pop-up late day shower chance. Temps go back to the low 80s Saturday, Sunday, and 84 by Monday.
Yeah, don't forget that umbrella. Wallet Hub recently released their list of 2023's most fun states in America. Each state was compared with pure enjoyment in mind, anything from movie costs to national parks to nightlife options. California tops the list of most fun states, followed by Florida and Nevada. North Carolina came in at number 15, so not too shabby. And then last on the list was Mississippi. So this got us thinking, what's your favorite place to visit? I asked you on my Facebook page. Reginald says Venice, Italy. Seeing a winter carnival was a unique experience. Keith wrote Singapore. I've been to over 200 cities, countries in my naval travels. Singapore, cleanest place and prettiest ever visited. Ireland is a second best. Melita wrote Alaska, the most beautiful scenery, glaciers, moose, bears. Ciandra says Positano, it lived in my head on my vision board for years, and to actually see it and experience it was a dream come true. And then Cassandra wrote New York City and Canada, beautiful places, but truly I just love Biloxi Beach. And Biloxi, if you have not been there, it is very beautiful.
I haven't traveled overseas. I don't think you and I have not a lot.
No, just like the Caribbean.
Yeah, the
But I don't know
Caribbean.
if that's probably not considered overseas, even though you fly over.
But you mean Europe, like the
I haven't
other
done that like
hemisphere.
You have. Yeah, she's been everywhere. I guess for me, my favorite of the places I visited was Turks and Caicos, because it was the most beautiful island community, and I've done some Caribbean islands that I've ever been to.
I've been to a lot of places, like I used to live overseas in Europe for some years, but I would say the place that I enjoyed and didn't expect to enjoy it so much was actually Detroit, Michigan. So I went there for a conference, and then 2 weeks later I went back to cover Aretha Franklin's funeral. And it was just something about the people there, the pride in the city. It's near the water, it's beautiful. The downtown was great, lots of Black-owned businesses. It was just something about it that I really liked. And when I was covering the funeral, someone that I met there and interviewed said him and his wife had watched my live shot on the app later that night, and they were like, she looks like she wants to live here. I remember he said that.
You did?
He said, I just look so happy, but I just didn't expect to have that much fun when I was there.
I think for me, just because it's the most recent in my mind, I was in New York City last weekend, and I really just love it there. I've only been 4 or 5 times, but every time I find a new appreciation for it, and it's just so diverse and so different, and you can get whatever you want, anywhere you want, at any time.
Yeah.
Yes. Toronto was another one for me. I did visit Toronto.
I want to go to
it was
Canada.
The cleanest big city I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. All right, keep letting us know. I know that on Facebook. I like to read those. We'll be right back.
Today, millions of people are celebrating the newest federal holiday, Juneteenth. The day honors the freedom of enslaved people in the United States and Black America's continued fight for equal rights. One of those battles starts at the crown of the head. According to the 2023 workplace research study, Black women's hair is more likely to be perceived as unprofessional. Nearly half of Black women under the age of 34 feel pressured to have a headshot with straight hair. Earlier this year, I spoke with a hairstylist and local professionals about the relationship between hair and the workplace. Let's begin at the hair salon.
I actually like this angle better.
Jamie Wright is the owner of Curly Girl Coach Salon in Greensboro. She tells me 90% of her clientele has naturally curly or naturally textured hair.
I've had clients tell me that they have been told their hair was unprofessional, it was big, it was frizzy, and encourage them to make it a little bit smaller and a little bit more manageable so they could be palatable or more palatable to the audiences.
No matter the style, Wright says health and comfort should be top of mind.
Firstly, is it a healthy option for you? And secondly, does the choice make you happy? Does it make sense for your lifestyle? Those are the only things that should be considered when deciding how to wear your hair.
Racial discrimination based on hairstyles doesn't just impact women. Atiba Berkeley, president of the Piedmont Blues Preservation Society, says it was hair discrimination that made him switch careers.
I moved to the South as a restaurant manager, and my hair held me back from, potential growth, which is something I'd never experienced and wasn't willing to deal with. But I definitely had a national chain restaurant not offer me a job because they, told me I needed to cut my hair.
How did it make you feel?
I was hurt and frustrated, and a part of me also kind of expected, part of it might have been validating in a way, because I hadn't really experienced it so strongly or directly prior to that. And growing up, my family would always say, this is a possibility, for people that have hair like this.
Work is being done to help make sure stories like this don't happen again. Some cities and counties in North Carolina have laws banning race-based hair discrimination. This includes Greensboro, Charlotte, and Winston-Salem.
One might argue where your hair is distracting, it makes it harder in the workplace. Can't you just tie it back or straighten it, pin it up? But when we talk about it in terms of racism, whereby these hairstyles are associated with one race group, and now it's not okay to tell that race group how to wear their hair, I think people will take it more seriously.
Dr. Jeanette Wade, an associate professor of sociology at North Carolina A&T, tells me not only legislation, but education and awareness are key.
A lot of legislation has been put in place, but hearts and minds have to change. So what you're doing right now, running a story like this, I think is amazing, because hearts and minds change when conversations happen.
I will continue to share the stories of others with the hopes all hair will be accepted in any place or space.
What does hair mean to you? I love it. It's a way to express yourself. It's a mood, depending on how you feel that day.
For me personally, hair means beauty. It means transformation.
It just means image. It means culture. It means history.
Your hair could be beautiful as it is. My hair could be beautiful as it is, and they can both be okay. And everything isn't for everybody. So if it ain't on your body, what do you care?
In February, North Carolina lawmakers introduced legislation in the Senate and House banning hair discrimination in the state. Both bills have failed to make it out of committee. In 2021, Governor Roy Cooper issued an executive order banning state agencies from discriminating based on hairstyles. Now, this was a cut down version of the original story I did back in May, so if you're interested in watching that, we do have that on our website. But I was inspired by my own life experiences to go ahead and do that story. When I first got interested in television news and I was interning while I was in college, I had a lot of people tell me, even folks who looked like me, and they meant well, but they said, you know, your braids are beautiful, but they're not going to do for your resume reel or to at least get your foot into the door. So for almost 8 years, I wore my hair under wigs, straight wigs, because I was trying to conform to, I guess, what would the news look or professional.
You did that when you started here.
I did that when I started
here. I
here.
remember you talking to me about making that decision. And you know, for me, I mean, as a white male, I didn't think about, I was like, well, why? It looks great.
Yeah.
You're like, no, you don't understand. Some people associate that and that, nope, not professional. When really it's cultural.
It's cultural,
Right.
Absolutely.
What? How did you feel when those first couple of days or weeks when you were just able to wear your hair naturally?
So I got my braids done when I went to a trip to Mexico, and I knew coming back I was gonna still have them in my hair. And I was excited, but then a part of me was a little nervous. I was like, you know, is management gonna say, okay, it's been a couple weeks now, when are you gonna switch back to your other, you know, hair? But no one has said anything. If anything, it's just been embraced. And it's healthier for my hair texture. And that's not to say I would never wear it straight again or never wear a wig again, but I like having that flexibility because, as the stylist said in my story, it should be about what's healthiest for your hair.
True.
And no one should have to change their hair in order to fit an idea of what is professional.
Very true. We think it looks great, by the
Thank
way.
you.
Yeah, we're coming right back. Hi there, welcome back to the 4 to 5. Eric, Chad, and Lauren with you on a wet Monday. Not the way we want to start the week.
Nope.
And I mean, some of it was like torrential downpour. There aren't many days where I would wear a raincoat and use an umbrella, but today was one of those days.
And it's going to be, we have extended periods of rain coming up, unfortunately.
Probably
on and
need
off.
the rain boots too.
Yeah, and flooding could be an issue by the end of this week in certain areas around here.
All right, well, maybe you've seen the torrential downpours where you live. A viewer sent us this video of flooding at Starmount Forest Country Club. You can see the creek rising over that small bridge there and taking over part of the freeway. Eric, sounds like we better get used to this wet weather for a while.
Yeah, as we said, it's kind of like this recurring pattern with an upper level low that just kind of moves a little bit to the east and then a little to the south, and it just meanders around the mid-Atlantic states. And what does that mean for us? With nothing to come through and push everything off the coast, it means we could have extended periods of light to moderate showers, and in some cases heavy. Pretty heavy right now to the east. There's Saxapahaw heading up to Mebane. Those are strong showers and in some cases storms. We have a flash flood warning for Greensboro until 5:45 because of the rain that we had earlier when that first line moved through. And then there's more back to the west from Forbush and Siloam over to Elkin, then over to Stokes County, King, and down to Louisville and Clemens and Forsyth County. Yeah, it's everywhere. And you can see that spinning low right here, right? So there's that low pressure. So we have one at the surface and one elevated above us. What does that do for us? It basically just keeps us unsettled with scattered showers. Now temperatures, now that we hit our low 80s today, we're going to stay in the 70s for the next 4 or 5 days. When we're that cool, we're not really worried about thunderstorms. At this point, it's just rain, and will we see flooding? Flash flooding risk in effect for today. We're in that slight category. That's a number 2 out of 4. This is for Tuesday, same story. Wednesday, same story. Yeah, that pattern just goes on. And if you look at our futurecast, look back to the left, you see that spinning low pressure over and over. This is Tuesday afternoon. It takes us all the way through Wednesday morning and afternoon, so get used to these rain chances upwards of 70 to 80% chance.
Eric, thanks. The easiest way to know whether there's rain in the forecast is just by using our app. You can customize alerts for your part of town so you aren't caught without an umbrella.
The weather is impacting some Juneteenth celebrations. The Soul-abration event kicked off this morning at Piedmont Triad Farmers Market. It was supposed to end at 6 tonight, but ended early because of the weather.
And prior to that, there were several families out there celebrating the day. Chefs served up delicious food. They had live performances showcasing music from local musicians, and several vendors sold custom-made merchandise.
This is so important to me. This is my first Juneteenth celebration. I'm so excited. I love the black, the white, everybody community. So to see everybody coming together is a big, major accomplishment, you know, and I just feel so honored just to be here.
So to me, Juneteenth means this right here. Being able to fellowship with you guys, being able to recognize you guys as accomplishments, and just, you know, just being there for each other, supporting each other.
This was the event's first year at the farmers market.
The history behind Juneteenth dates back to 1865, but the federal holiday wasn't established until just 2 years ago. Let's connect the dots to see how we got here.
Juneteenth, a combination of the words June and 19th, commemorates when the last enslaved people in the South were finally set free. It's a holiday rich in history. After the Union defeated the Confederacy in 1965, 4 million slaves were set to become free, but it didn't happen immediately. Union armies began marching through the southern states, freeing thousands of slaves every day. The news took months to reach Texas. On June 19, 1865, Union troops rode into Galveston, Texas, and told slaves of their freedom. Their spontaneous celebration gave birth to Juneteenth. Over 150 years later, private companies made Juneteenth a permanent paid holiday for their employees after protests erupted following the murder of George Floyd. Then in 2021, the U.S. Congress passed legislation to make it a federal holiday, and President Biden signed it into law. And that's connecting the dots.
In honor of Juneteenth, Greensboro Transit Authority is offering free bus rides today. All routes are covered until 11:30 p.m. The offer does not include Access iRide.
Let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup. People living in Greensboro could soon find out if they'll have to pay higher property taxes. The city council is meeting tomorrow to discuss the budget and potentially bring forth a vote. Last week, the city manager proposed a 4-cent property tax to raise wages for city employees. This would increase police officer pay to $57,000 a year and up minimum pay for other city workers to $18 an hour. Take a good look at your screen here for a breakdown on how the impact would impact owners. If approved, taxes for a home valued at $200,000 would go up to about $100 a year. The increase expects to bring in $60 million of extra revenue for the city. If the city doesn't finalize the budget tomorrow, they'll have to call a special meeting for a later date.
Meantime, property taxes are not going up in Guilford County. Commissioners approved their budget last week without an increase. One of the highlights, raises for many low-level GCS employees. And this week, the school board will consider retention bonuses for teachers. A major gift to a local healthcare provider will mean more access to cancer research. That's the word today from Atrium Health, which just received more than $7 million from the Leon Levine Foundation. Atrium says it'll allow doctors in Winston-Salem to partner with doctors in Charlotte to better serve patients here.
Bringing together of our teams under the umbrella of Atrium Health Levine Cancer will help us to really try to change cancer as we know it, diagnose it earlier, come up with better treatments, help folks recover better and faster. Indeed, it's a very patient-centered model, but that is truly trying to bring the very cutting edge here to this region.
The donation will also support cancer medicine studies.
Health advocates hope a new type of vending machine will save lives. It dispenses critical medical supplies to neighborhoods in need. Several of the machines are already proving successful across the nation, including here in the Triad.
This vending machine in New York City is in the business of providing products that could be life-saving.
As you see, we have masks, we have wound care, we have Narcan kits, we have xylazine and fentanyl test strips, and feminine hygiene and regular old hygiene kits because the community said that that was something they wanted.
It's the first public health vending machine from the city's Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. The goal is to reduce stigma and increase access as the city looks for new ways to lower overdose deaths.
We all know people who would be alive today if a machine like this had existed, that whether we're working with someone who winds up dying of an infection because they couldn't access free wound care, to someone who overdoses because they couldn't get free, easy access to Narcan.
Services for the Underserved says 100 kits of Narcan, the drug used to reverse an overdose, were distributed in the first week. The supplies are free and restocked daily. Similar machines are also in use in the Triad. The Forsyth County Detention Center has one right when you walk in. It's free and doesn't require staff assistance to use it. Just 4 other counties in our state, including Wilkes, have an option like this.
Health advocates hope medical vending machines will encourage people to seek the services and medical care that they need.
Makes sense. I mean, it's super easy to get to, and sometimes, I mean, I can think about when it said even just simple things like a hygiene kit, which we take for granted, but if that's something that you need and maybe you can't even afford that, that's the place to go. It's a service.
I like that it's no questions asked.
Right.
Because a lot of times, you know, this is a serious problem with overdoses. We see that it's rising, and some people might feel kind of uncomfortable going to get it, or maybe, you know, before I think you had to be trained or be in a certain organization to get these products for free. So the fact that it is easily accessible, no questions asked, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah. And anytime you can steer people who don't have life-altering emergencies away from the emergency room, because there are so many people in emergency rooms.
Yeah.
For something as, I don't want to say Narcan is simple, but for something as easily accessible as Narcan, I mean, I think it's beneficial. We keep hearing about all these emergency room wait times. Well, if you could help people who aren't having a true emergency that way, I think it's beneficial for sure.
It's great. It's a good idea. We'll see more of those, I'm sure. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic check, mic check, mic.
There's a big game tonight for Wake Forest baseball. The Demon Deacons are getting ready to play LSU in the College World Series.
A few players on the team played high school baseball right here in the Triad. WFMY News 2's Amanda Ferguson heard from their former coaches about their journey to Omaha.
Outfielder Tommy Hawk and left-handed pitcher Josh Hartle both went to Reagan High School together, both now sophomores at Wake Forest. Their coach at Reagan proud to see them doing so well with the Deeks. He says Tommy is such a competitor. Josh is a hard worker. He says both will get drafted one day, but for now he's following them in their college careers and on the big stage in Omaha.
It's great. It's great. Been following them and seeing how they're doing. Just not recently, but all year long, and they've just had great seasons. And there's when we were together during the season talking, that was a lot of talk about Josh and what he did, and Tommy and what he did, amongst our team. So it's been fun.
And Josh Hartle is going to pitch tonight for Wake Forest.
Yeah. Big deal. It's got to be so cool for those coaches. I feel badly for my coaches growing up because I wasn't able to, provide them with bragging rights in any of my sports. But I mean, how such a cool thing for a coach. They work so hard to help train these young men and women to grow up and to be professional athletes or just be good people. So how cool to add that to their resume.
Yeah, when speaking of bragging rights, I mean, now you can tell your players, hey, look, you can go to Wake Forest. Hey, look, you can be at the College World Series one day.
Right.
It's a great recruiting tool, and also those who are about to go to high school might want to say, hey, I want to go play for this school because I've seen where they've sent all these other guys.
Right.
And don't think some of the possible recruits have been given a trip to come to Omaha and see a little bit of this and see if you want to be a part of that in the future, because sometimes that happens, not necessarily that the universities do it, but there are lots of alumni that are going, I got to take these kids and show them what this team can do.
Speaking of Wake Forest, their game on Saturday was a little bit closer
It was,
than
and that's the
games.
thing, when you're in the College World Series now, it's going to be like you're playing against the best. So it's whoever makes less mistakes, whoever's just on it is going to win these games. And yeah, it was a close one, and they play tonight. They play LSU, so we'll see what happens. If they win, they will play not tomorrow, but the next day. If they lose, they'll play tomorrow.
Okay.
Got it. Okay, it's double elimination.
Double elimination.
Yep.
So they're still in it if they lose today, but they got to win. You have a better path to the finals if they win today.
We're cheering for them.
Yeah. Well, Shai Tuttle was a standout high school football player in the Triad at North Davidson before moving on to play at Tennessee. After 4 seasons with the New Orleans Saints, Tuttle signed with the Carolina Panthers in the offseason. We caught up with Tuttle after a recent practice, talked all things football, and coming back home.
Man, it's home. It's a dream come true, to be honest, to be playing in my hometown. I grew up a Panthers fan, so it meant a lot for me and my family. And I always appreciated them reaching out to me and trying to get me to a free agency. They want to bring physicality, effort. I don't play winning football, so I'm always put my best foot forward and try to lead by example. Nose guard, so first and foremost, you got to be physical, and just playing D-line, it's a lot about effort, toughness. Man, we can be pretty good. Last year these guys were good, so I'm just here to do my job, contribute, and what they brought me here to do. We out here, training camp, it's still early. We trying to knock off the rust. So when the season gets here, we hitting the floor full speed. Oh, it's going very well. We got a lot of guys getting better each day. Like from when we started to now, we got a lot of guys that made gains, huge strides. Coach always says it's our defense. Well, it's his defense, but make it our own. Meaning put yourself in the best possibility to do the job. All that boils into learning the playbook, knowing it, so you're playing your fastest on game day. One thing my mom said, or my family said, is I get to spend holidays with you, such as Thanksgiving and all that, so it's gonna be pretty cool, I try not to get caught up in that stuff, but, being around your family, it makes hard times a lot easier. Not to say I'm having a hard time.
He is not a small guy.
No.
Let's just say that. Looking at that video, yes.
And what a time to join the Carolina Panthers now. I mean, to not only come back home, but also join a team that is so much excitement around it. You got Bryce Young coming, or here now.
It's a complete rebuild.
Yeah.
He could be a part of that.
So many possibilities.
Speaking of coaches, being happy for their former players, I'm sure over at North Davidson.
Oh,
is
yeah.
where he
Yeah,
played.
we just talked about
I am
that.
certain that they are probably just thrilled that he's not only in the NFL, but now actually coming back to play for the Panthers.
And maybe they can go see him now that he's a little closer.
And at school, they're probably always like, you see that guy? That could be you. That could be you if you come on time. That could be you if you work hard in practice.
They always I like to go to a high school who had someone like that, who's big time. They always have like a picture of them inside a sports trophy case. You know,
they're like the face of the sports department at the school.
It's like Northern Guilford. They have Keenan Allen, a great wide receiver in the NFL for years, played there, and they got his picture and all kinds of stuff.
I love that. They're proud.
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll be beneficial to the Panthers too, considering he's coming from the Saints, where he spent 4 years. So he knows their playbook, and obviously they're rivals in the NFC South. So I mean, I think this is going to be good all the way around.
I'm excited for him. It's a good opportunity for him to come be back home.
For sure.
Weeks away from football. That's what I'm excited
And we
about.
get to cheer him on.
Yes.
Another Triad guy to look for.
Absolutely. We're coming right back. Stay right there. More rain on the way for us. We have to keep that umbrella handy in the car for the rest of the work week and maybe even through the weekend. We're still watching this. It is a developing situation. We're thinking, I'm hoping, keep your fingers crossed, things can change in the long range end of a forecast, but it looks pretty solid, like we'll see some pretty decent rain over the next 4 or 5 days in a row. Looking, you can tell where the rain is and where it's not, with Wilmington at 82, Fayetteville at 74. We dropped to 70 in the Triad, Boone at 65. Hour by hour with us, thunderstorm activity Don't think we'll see much more of that, but there's a possibility of a shower at any time in the overnight period, and our lows aren't going that low either. Some of the heavier showers we're seeing now around the Burlington, Siler City area, that is gradually kind of shifting to the east little by little. We still see heavier rains, though, in northern parts of Yadkin County and throughout Surrey County. If you're in Mount Airy, Elkin, or Jonesville, or maybe even Dobson, you're seeing some pretty heavy rain right now. So much so earlier that we have that flash flood warning for Greensboro until 5:45, so a little less than an hour from now that will expire. And yes, it is unsettled across our region, and we can expect this. Look at the futurecast. This is taking us through Tuesday morning. Now we're in Tuesday afternoon. You see that counterclockwise rotation over and over. It just picks up moisture from the south, brings it up to the north in the form of scattered showers. It doesn't mean that you see rain constantly all day or all night, but it does mean that we'll see a good chance of a soaking shower here or there on and off for the next several days. Just a quick look into the tropics, as we do have Tropical Depression 3. This one will probably become a named storm, and that would be Brett, and that will be happening probably in the next little bit. So just know we need that umbrella with that 60 to 80% chance of rain all the way through the weekend.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hello, hello.
Hi there, 1, 2, 3. It is Monday and it feels like a holiday. Everybody is very chill right now.
Mic check, mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check, check, check.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1.
Another violent weekend across the Triad. This time, 6 shootings with 11 victims, all happening within 48 hours. We are all fed up of having our community torn apart by crime and anger. It is time for something to change. But what? We aired an interview with Forsyth County Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough today on the Good Morning Show. He made such a strong point about kids getting mixed up with the wrong crowds.
You know, a lot of times people say, well, where are the parents? The question is, where is society?
He's right. For decades now, researcher after researcher after researcher have found social inequalities lead to a rise in crime, like a lack of access to food, poor job opportunities, and less chances for a strong education. Our community leaders are trying hard to come up with solutions, but it is time for us to help them too. If we really want to live in a safer world, we must all find ways to volunteer our time. That's why on the Good Morning Show, I'm going to start highlighting new volunteer opportunities to help make our community better together. And in the spirit of this project, I'd love your help making this happen. If you know a good nonprofit that needs volunteers, let me know on Facebook, please. Just search for Watchdog Ben. Look, the Triad is the best place in the world to live. If any community can come together to make big changes, it's us. Let's show the world what we can do together. That's my 2 cents. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts right now.
Three people must find another place to stay after lightning struck their Winston-Salem home. Here's a look as firefighters rushed to the scene on Cedar Creek Court this afternoon while smoke billowed from the roof. Strong storms are still moving through the Piedmont Triad right now. In fact, they're in the forecast all week.
High winds, flooding, and lightning strikes are all a possibility. Eric Chilton is in the weather garden tracking the latest system. Eric, I understand there's a flash flood warning in the Triad.
Yes, in Greensboro, in effect for about 45 more minutes. We'll watch for that. And this may be kind of a sign of things to come this week. We're in this pattern, and it just doesn't look like it's going to break anytime soon. It's really more